Welcome to the December edition of Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. I will share my screen shortly, but I'm Shadidi Laser for those of you who are tuning in on the live broadcast. This is the virtual edition of the B-Spug Express. So let me share my screen. Okay, so and yes, for our virtual meetings, our start time is 6:45. Our in-person meetings have always started at 6 to open the door for networking, food, beverage, etc. But since we're not doing any virtual meal prep, it starts at 6:45 to go into announcements and or content and presentations. So this is our December meeting, as there's some new faces. So I'll go into more of an overview for those who are unfamiliar of what we do here at Baltimore SharePoint. So the overview. What is Baltimore SharePoint? Once upon a time, on a dark and stormy night back in 2007, there were two gentlemen. I was one of them. And during the time of the explosion of Office SharePoint Server 2007, MOS 2007, which at the time was had the record for the most server licenses sold on the almighty Microsoft platform, there were a lot of challenges, a lot of questions that needed to be answered. And so during this time, my co-founder and I, we did not have a let's say answers to a lot of the questions that we were seeking. We were working for a firm that took on the responsibility of serving clients who were early adopters to MOS 2007. Now, in that particular instance, they were not, let's say, just stand up a site collection or, let's just build out some team sites. This was heavy customization and, using the development platform that is SharePoint in ways that we've never seen as an industry before. So the basis of this group was started to gather people to get some answers to questions because we had a lot of them. Keep in mind that at the time, a lot of the blogs that you may have come to read now, and many of the code repositories that you would be able to gain access to didn't exist. And so with that in mind, that was the energy that led to the start of Baltimore SharePoint. And since then, every third Thursday of the month, without fail, we have had a meeting. And so this journey, whether I was on projects out of state, and all sorts of, roller coaster events that life has to offer, still had a meeting no matter what. And the consistency of what we have been able to accomplish as a group in terms of no matter switching to different venues, we've been able to stay afloat. And it's something I'm proud of in terms of what it means to the overall community and the impact that it's had on tech as a whole within this particular Mid-Atlantic region. So we hold our monthly meetings, and we also have our annual conference, which is every third Saturday annually, and that is known as SharePoint Saturday Baltimore, which is a one-day conference that is free of charge, where we bring in anywhere from 20 to about 35 speakers. And it focuses on topics ranging from if you're just a beginner to power user to business user to administrator, developer, technical lead, and so on and so forth. Breakfast and lunch is served, and we hold a more or less an after party that is known as SharePoint, where you get to connect with your favorite speaker. We've held at least 11 of these events, and we look to continue forward. So when we look at Baltimore SharePoint by the numbers, we are Maryland's longest running Microsoft focused community institution. So, been around for quite some time. When you look at the numbers and actually quantify, there's quite a bit of people who have attended our meetings, gained training, gained, let's say, the steps to pursue certification. And we're looking to move further on that and become more of a learning institution, maybe gain some accreditation, just working through those processes now and seeing what we can accomplish. And so there's been several practices that have, let's say, got their start with members of the Baltimore SharePoint community. We always encourage that if you are, let's say, you have the talent to be all you can be, whether start your practice, become a freelancer, and elevate, use the tools that are within the group in order to do so. Special thanks at the close of this year to the great Pro Object. Now, Pro Object is based in Hanover, Maryland, right around the corner, less than a mile from the casino at Arundel Mills, Maryland Live. And so that is where our meetings are typically held every third Thursday. But due to, of course, the social distancing, we have not held meetings and we have shifted to virtual. But ProObject has been extremely supportive in our goal to keep the doors open and to keep things rolling along. And so we're thankful for their support. And we're thankful to the great Ted Staley, who for years has stayed after work to make sure that we're able to get in and make sure that we are able to hold our meetings. And we're thankful for him and all of his efforts because if he's not there, then there's a lot of cold people outside. So thank you to Ted. And let's see. Okay. So we are in a pandemic, and we can't forget that fact. And so what Baltimore SharePoint has done to try to meet the demand of job uncertainty, especially many talented people have been cut from lucrative contracts that at the beginning, pre-COVID, were looking to go the long haul. But when it's no secret that SharePoint professionals and Office 365 professionals and Power Platform professionals, it's a good living. But when you're dealing with budget cuts, sometimes the collaboration side of, let's say, a business will take a back seat to some of the core operations of a business. And so they have to make some tough decisions. And oftentimes the highest paid, if it's being built out, they will pause and postpone and regroup. And so what we've done is the following. First, we must go into the golden rule. I believe that each person who can hear my voice at this time, especially when we're meeting in person, is coming from somewhere, meaning they are attending, they're coming from a contract, they're working from home, They may have been doing job searching all day in between contracts or jobs. But when you attend our meetings, it's an indicator that you are bringing more to the table in terms of your investment in your education. So you should not go without opportunity, or I should say, the opportunities that exist should be made available to you. So, very important to me that our members continue to stay gainfully employed on contracts, so on and so forth. So, that is the golden rule. And so, if you are going through struggles, if your manager is beginning to act distant around the time of your contract renewal, if you've been told that your contract ends at the end of December, end of January, and you need to make some moves to move forward, then you should, I urge you to send an email to me directly, which is hello@mrshadid.com. Send me your resume. You do not see at our meetings typically, a bunch of staffing professionals, recruiters, whatever the title that you have, let's say doing a bunch of open pitches in front of the group, but that does not mean that they do not have an interest in your talent. So it is one of the core tenets of our group is that every one of you are coming from a long day of doing something. And the last thing that you need is another sales pitch that will turn you away from what you've come to learn. So, but definitely maintain solid relationships with staffing professionals, and they'd love to talk to you. So please send me a resume if you have any questions, problems, struggles with your current employer. And so this has been going on since about March. So I did not update this slide. But we're doing free resume reviews through December 31st. So if you need a critique, if you feel like you just need someone to take a look at what you have going on, be happy to take a look and give you a professional video assessment of your resume. Also, there are several people who can hear my voice who are current and or aspiring entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, freelancers, agency owners, practice leads. And there's one thing to be able to, let's say, write code or build servers and, but there's another to actually understand the business aspect of it, whether it's taxes, whether it's payroll, whether it's profit and loss, whether it's finding clients. And score.org or greaterbaltimore.score.org is your go-to resource for business advice and mentoring. Score is 100% free. SCORE is funded by the Small Business Administration, which is the governing body of business in the United States of America. We have a local chapter here in the greater Baltimore region. And by greater Baltimore, there are 6 locations that range from Harford County on down to Columbia, Maryland, that are open and providing remote support, which includes phone, video call, and email. So if you're starting your business, if you've been laid off and you need to make some drastic decisions, I would recommend that you sit down with a business mentor and get your business planning together, have a qualified ear to listen to your plans and kind of vet them and make sense of them. So the URL is at the bottom. So when we talk about SPS events, and let me just go here to go to the website. As you may or may not know, SPS events is the official home of SharePoint Saturday sites or events. And so in the US, uh, January 22nd is the virtual Microsoft 365 event. The interesting part is it's on Friday and not Saturday. So each event has the autonomy to create the types of events that they want. And many events have paused their schedule as we continue through COVID season. And so, but there are some who have chosen to do so. We've also locally had a few discussions about hosting a virtual event, and you can look to see an event that is coming up in 2021. So be on the lookout for that. But you can always go to spsevents.org and learn more about the events that are coming up on the schedule. And so when we briefly go into the year in review and some of the things that we've started to overcome and work our way through, if I was to, let's say, give this year a theme, is of course the grand pivot. And for our group, I would say one of the fortunate things that we've had going for us is prior to all this, we had a history, even if it wasn't the best history, of streaming our meetings. So there's always a way to improve, let's say, having a meeting in person, recording the meeting, and making sure it gets mailed out. Sometimes it didn't get mailed out enough, or, sometimes the recording would start 5 minutes late. But when it came to the entire world needing to lean a bit more heavily on virtual meetings, we at least had a step forward to do so. So I'm very happy that we were able to keep our consistency as a group and meet every month this year. It's very, very, very proud of our efforts in that case. And so when we look at 2021 outlook, I have no idea what the CDC has in mind or what Governor Hogan and his staff have in mind, but we'll be meeting in a remote status until the foreseeable future, and just letting things ride out at this time, but continue to keep the community together and hold our meetings every month, have guest speakers as often as possible, and also welcome guest presentations as well. And we also look to hold a SharePoint Saturday event in 2021. And so now we're here to our featured topic. I call to the stage Fred Brandon. And what you see on your screen now is the new book, Adopting Blockchain and Cryptocurrency, hot off the presses. And we're looking to do what I like to call a book shower for this particular event, which means we as a community want to support our authors. And so writing a book is challenging. You have to keep in mind that life always gets in the way, and some of us can't maintain a blog or have the time to update social media, but taking your time and sitting down and writing an entire book is no small feat, and we need to acknowledge and celebrate that. So the book links will be available for sale, and definitely we want to make sure that we support this new release. And so without further ado, Fred Brandon, please come to the stage and take it away. You have full access to share your screen as well.
All right, sounds great. Thank you, Shadid. How's it? Want to welcome everyone to Beastbug, Baltimore SharePoint user group this evening. I appreciate everyone coming out in this cold weather and being able to be here with us tonight. So what I wanted to do is just go a little into, and I'm going to share my screen. Let's see.
At the bottom.
Yeah. I just need to get y'all over to another place. Okay, so y'all should be able to see that now.
Yes.
All right, so what I wanted to do is talk about blockchain. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the news right now about Bitcoin reaching these all-time highs, and that's a great thing. I know that a lot of us have been in the tech space for a very long time, but we might not necessarily know what blockchain is, and we may confuse the two when we hear Bitcoin and automatically think of blockchain. So what I wanted to do today is just briefly talk about that and how it plays into our role as Microsoft professionals. I know that a lot of us work on the Microsoft platform, so this should work well with us. My name is Fred Brandon, and let's get over to the overview of today. Like I said, this we're going to talk a little bit about me, just to give you a bigger introduction of who I am. We're going to talk about what a blockchain is, why we should consider blockchain, and I'll also have some resources and questions toward the end. As I mentioned before, my name is Fred Brandon. I am the founder and CEO of Brand New Technologies. I've been in the IT world for over 20 years, most of those being in SharePoint. So I know a lot of you may remember me from maybe SharePoint Saturdays, whether it's in this area, in the DC area, or somewhere else, because I've spoken in many places across the world as well. I appreciate Shadid talking about my new book. I recently published a book called Adopting Blockchain and Cryptocurrency, Embracing a Digital Future. And I'm also to accompany that, I'm also teaching a blockchain course at Alt-Hash University, which we teach blockchain for free to students globally, and just allowing them to understand the new technology. And they even get to create their own tokens, and it's pretty great what they're doing right now. Alt-Hash University has been around since 2014, but this program that they're doing is pretty new. I want to say at least just the start of this year, they started doing a lot more of this free training to students. All right, so without further ado, let's get started with the presentation here. And that's the book, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. All right, so have you seen this picture before? I know I've used it before in some of my previous presentations, but I always like to use this whether we are talking about using the Power Platform or going from on premises to the cloud situation. Any of these things, sometimes this comes into play within our work environment. If it's not broke, why fix it? I've been that young aspiring guy with the wheels in the back, and just maybe I've seen a better way that we can improve the processes. Sometimes those, when you're too young and ambitious, sometimes those ideas get shot down. especially by someone who's already been there, right? Maybe they were the person who actually designed this legacy system. So of course it's their baby. They're not going to want to change it. And I think that's, sometimes we get stuck in that mentality where we don't want to change. We're too busy to change, right? So I think that creates a huge disconnect between the upper management and maybe the employees. So sometimes as an employee, we have to work twice as hard because some of the processes and some of the systems that we use are broken. All right. So but as a developer, sometimes we decide to try to make creative workarounds. Maybe we have to do something twice as hard just to get the same results instead of fixing a problem or trying to find a way to better that solution. We decide to find a lot of band-aids for it. So when it comes to just understanding how processes work, we should always constantly look to improve. But truth be told, many systems that we work within our company are very antiquated and inefficient. If anything, COVID has showed us and showed many of these companies that we really need to take an honest inventory of our current processes and systems. Whether it's working remote, being able to do a lot of things because we can't be in person. We had to take these necessary precautions and steps to make sure that our businesses and our processes kept running. But unfortunately, a lot of companies still find it difficult to change. So we're faced with this dilemma. We really need to find a solution, right? Is it going to be blockchain? Is it going to be a cloud solution? Maybe it'll be a hybrid solution, where we use both of them. Now, I know many of us are in this SharePoint space or the cloud space with M365 now. And we'll probably just say, let's use a flow, let's use a Power App, create some type of custom app because that's what we're used to, right? That can satisfy this problem. But what happens when this isn't enough, right? As a solutions architect, it's up to us to try to come up, with a solution to figure out how we can work more efficiently. And this picture, I like to call this the 4 stages of architecture. First, we'll start with despair, discovery, decision, and deploy. So let's discuss those. So in the first stage, despair, we've come to the realization that our current system is broken. We're losing money as a company. Our employees are being inefficient because it's taking them too long to complete a task. Maybe they're doing things redundantly. It's just very time consuming. So and even worse, we as a company, sometimes I like to think of it as myself being a CEO. You kind of understand, is money, are you losing money? Whether it's time, are things slipping through the cracks? Are you missing payments? Is your AR, AP processes in place to make sure you're getting all your money in, right? So something has to be changed in order to get things back on track. In the second stage, we have the discovery stage. So we're looking for possible solutions to address our pain points. Is this going to be a third-party tool? Is this going to be something we can custom code? If it is, how long will it take us to do it? Will we have the support? All of these types of things, we have to start, weighing the cost, weighing, what's the best solution to do this. After that, we are in the decision stage. This is after we've sat down, weighed all the pros and cons of, all the possible solutions, trying to understand if it's worth, paying a developer, so many hours to do a certain task, and then you still have to worry about testing, test and beta, servers, all of that good stuff. If things you know, if things are going to be an easy transition when it's time to upgrade, right? That's, that is one of the things that we always have to remember, especially as a developer or as an administrator, to say, okay, we're going to custom code this solution. But when it's time to upgrade, is it going to be an easy fix, or is it going to be something that we're going to have to dev all over again? Right. So that's part of the decision-making process. So we're going to have to figure out, what's going to be the best solution to go with this. And then after that, we're going to be in the deploy stage, right? So now we made the decision which way we were going to go, and now we want to be able to implement this new solution into our environment. So during this discussion, we're going to look at blockchain as this possible solution to incorporate into our enterprise. So what is a blockchain? Like I mentioned, I know that a lot of people, it might be a buzzword, and people constantly associate this with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but it's a lot bigger than that. All right, so a blockchain is a distributed ledger that uses cryptography to ensure the security, immutability, and accountability of transactions. So instead of storing information in a centralized location, like a SQL server or any type of database, the blockchain is going to be decentralized over multiple nodes or computers and servers. So some of the benefits is decentralized. It's not going to be a single point of failure, so you don't have to necessarily worry about things being hacked because there's no one place that you can actually attack, right? It's immutable, meaning once it's been written to the blockchain, it is there, right? It's not going to be changed once it's on the blockchain. It's secured by cryptography. If we have any security people here, a cryptographic hash is going to be a way that you're going to be able to tell if anything has ever been changed, right? So if you hash something, it does not matter if you change one bit in there. So I could just say, for example, if I am using a sentence and it is going to be like the red ball period, right? The red ball period. That sentence will always hash out to the exact same thing. Now, if you change it to the red ball question mark, it's going to be a completely different hash. So that is one way that you're going to be able to secure everything, all the transactions, anything that's going to be on that blockchain, to make sure that nothing has been changed or nothing has ever been altered. And then it also enforces and establishes trust between multiple entities. So, like I said, I know that a lot of us are in this DMV area. So I know that we're talking to multiple people, but a lot of people here in the DMV area may work for the government. And so there may be situations where you have to work with different organizations or different branches, and being able to establish that trust between multiple entities, whether it is government related or whether it is within another let's say government contractor or something like that. You may have a lot of different parties involved in a project. So that is one of the key benefits of working with a blockchain. All right, so smart contracts. This is one of the huge areas that helps the blockchain be very successful, right? So a smart contract is a program that runs on a blockchain that has been designed to automatically execute once agreed upon by multiple parties. We would think about this as business logic. We will talk about this a little bit later, but think of what we've always done with workflows, with flows and with logic apps. Think of that mentality, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So some of the benefits of the smart contracts is, they're going to be self-enforcing. They're going to be self-executing. So, so once you build this, it's going to be smart enough to act on its own behalf, due to the things that's coming across it, right? So with the smart contract, you also want to be able to cover every scenario to prevent any loopholes. And what I want to give an example of this for any of my devs that's out there. So sometimes when you're coding something and we'll say, if X is less than 10, do this, but if X is greater than 10, do that, right? One of the problems with that piece of code is we're not accounting for 10 itself, right? So that would actually create that loophole. So you want to be able to, code these things smart to make sure that you have all of your bases covered, right? And it also uses the Solidity language, which is very JavaScript-esque, I would say that. All right, so that brings us to dApps, or decentralized applications. These are going to be applications or programs that run on a distributed computing system like a blockchain, and allows for user interaction. So think of some of the apps that we create now, whether it is going to be a Power Apps or something like that. It allows us to interact with a database or Excel or something like that. We're going, with a decentralized app, it's going to be the same type of, same mentality of saying, okay, we want to be able to interact with the blockchain, whether we are playing a game, whether we're sending medical information, whatever type of blockchain that you're actually going to be interacting with. The dApp or this application is going to allow you to interact with it directly. Just like with any application, it's highly customizable, and because it's decentralized, it's not going to be governed by one single entity. So all that to say, why should we consider a blockchain, right? So just to list some of these bullets here, prevent fraud. You're going to be able to, see if anything has been changed. If there's, we'll get into it a little bit later, but with blockchain, it's a very, one of the great use cases for blockchain is going to be a supply chain. So whether you are, tracking a package or tracking something from point A to point Z, you're going to be able to see exactly what's going on. Because it's decentralized and distributed, there's no hacking of a database or a single point of failure. You're going to have transparency. Now there's different types of blockchains that's out there, whether it's going to be a public blockchain, which is something going to be like Bitcoin, for any people who are familiar with cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin, you can go to, you can pretty much look it up online and see any type of transactions you're going to be able to see on the Explorer. You won't know the person's name, but so it's type of like a pseudo transparency, but at least you can see where things are, or that there's been a changing from one ledger to another. You're able to enforce policies with smart contracts. You're able to streamline a lot of your business processes and incorporate some of the things, that we're currently using, but also build off of them. Because of the use of smart contracts, you now are able to hold parties accountable, because everything is written to the blockchain or written within that smart contract. It is easy to keep a track of everything, and like I said, it's self-executing. So you don't necessarily have to be technically watching everything. Is the smart contract will handle it for you. And like I said, it allows you to collaborate with trust. But at the end of the day, the real question is, does my company really need a blockchain? Right. So I know I've been in the same world as you for, like I said, I've been in the SharePoint world and Microsoft Office 365 and all of the good stuff for all these years. So I've talked to a lot of naysayers because we've pretty much drank this SharePoint Kool-Aid for so long that we can split the atom with it, right? We can do everything we can with SharePoint. Now there may be some authentication issues we may have to address. We may have to do something like that, but sometimes we feel that we can fix every problem or get at least a 90% solution with SharePoint or the cloud that we're currently using. And that may be true, but blockchains are not going to replace the cloud. Far from that. What I want you to get from this conversation today is that blockchain can actually be a friend of the cloud, so to speak. So some of the things that we're using right now, whether it's going to be Azure or Dynamics or Microsoft 365 or Amazon Web Services, we're using a lot of these services already, right? So so when I'm saying cloud, even though some of us may not necessarily be in the cloud per se, some of us may still be working on premises. That's what I'm talking about, cloud or centralized systems. We are currently using these type of things, whether we're working out of a regular data center or if we're working out of a cloud. So when it gets to this, we have to determine whether a blockchain or a cloud will be our best bet, right? So when we understand that, we can actually use this cause matrix, right? So is for the collaborative workflow, is the workflow designed to be collaborative, right? Will we have a lot of working partners? Will they be will they be known or unknown? Actually, that'll get down to you. But how is this going to work? Do we really need it to be interactive and collaborative with multiple parties? The assets, do they need to be digitized or not, or can they be? As I mentioned before, unknown contributors. Is everyone in this flow going to be known? Sometimes we have salesmen or people who are going to be the consumer. We might not necessarily know them, at the first instance, but we still want to be able to, capture their information, make sure they know exactly what's going on. I'll give you a perfect example. We want to just say FedEx uses the blockchain right now, right? You would know exactly where your package is when it left the warehouse or from the business point, once it got to the warehouse, once it got on the truck, and once it got to you, right? So that would be an example that many people have used every day to see exactly where their package is. Storage of state, should the history of the state be recorded? And also E is going to be is encryption crucial or not? So whether you are a mom and pop shop, you might not necessarily need a blockchain, right? But some of the services you may use may actually use a blockchain, and you may be using it, you may be using a DApp, or you may be using something. So not necessarily, a smaller business or a mom and pop type of business would ever really need a blockchain. But they may be, maybe some of their vendors may be using them as well. So, and this is just a table to pretty much check and see exactly what's really needed. If you really need these things or not. You're going to have that public blockchain or that private blockchain or that hybrid blockchain, which is going to be a mix of the two. So as I mentioned, a public blockchain is going to be something like Bitcoin, where everybody can kind of see the transactions, see where things are going. A private blockchain can be likened to your intranet at your job. So there may be a blockchain that goes from finance to IT to HR, or something like that, where it's going to be totally private. Or then, like I said, it may be a hybrid solution where you may have certain things on the private blockchain, and then accompanying that with the public blockchain that some of your customers or something can see, right? Or maybe we stay with the cloud solution that we all know and love, right? So some of these verticals that blockchain would work great in: financial, being able to understand, fraud, track money, track expenses, things of that sort. The healthcare business, whether just say you are in you're in a different country or something like that, and you're waiting for your medical records to be shipped to that country. If all of this information is on a blockchain, the time can greatly reduce, because it's a lot faster. Things that will be easily looked up. Government, any type of digital IDs or something that that we can start, that they may start implementing. If it's going to be vehicle registration, all of that great stuff can also be utilize a blockchain. And then retail and manufacturing, as I mentioned, supply chain, digital currency, things of that sort. So I just put up another couple of instances of use cases for blockchain. Supply chain, digital identity, voting. Unfortunately, we were not able to use blockchain in our current, our most recent election, but maybe in 2024 or 2028, that may be an option. Where everything is going to be easily, submitted to a blockchain. That would, pretty much squash any fraud or anything like that, because everything would be submitted to the blockchain, right? Fundraising, healthcare, notary, intellectual property. We're going to talk about food safety a little bit later. Intellectual property, just say you are submitting your, a patent or anything like that, or, that could be submitted to a blockchain. So, you never have to worry about if someone else is trying to steal your idea. Everything is there, trademarks, patents, all of that good stuff. Could be a very good use case for blockchain technology. And then energy market, there are a lot of companies right now that are utilizing green energy, solar, and pretty much quantifying that on a blockchain as well. And then real estate. I also put the link. I got a lot of this information from Blockchain Council, so the link is at the bottom if you want to screenshot or something like that for that. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of companies that are already currently using blockchain, right? Everything from Xbox. I actually created this slide a couple of months ago, but Xbox has made a lot of announcements within the last couple of weeks. So they're doing a lot of big things with blockchain. Liberty Mutual, whether you're submitting insurance claims, all of the things are going on. Singapore Airlines, Sony Music, even Starbucks, right? There were so many places that at Starbucks didn't even actually make this slide, but Starbucks is one of the companies that are using blockchain pretty much for their supply chain efforts. So this is an example of supply chain, and I love this. I love this slide because, and I like to call this slide from the mood to the plate, right? So this gives you an example of how you can use the supply chain and maybe incorporate the blockchain with that. So everything from the cow to by the time it comes to the retail store to your plate, or whether it's milk or meat, whatever we're getting out of the cow, you're going to be able to check that process from A to Z, right? So with the IoT scanners and everything else that you're going to have on the meat, you're going to be able to say, all right, I know exactly that this meat or this milk has been refrigerated and it stayed at this particular temperature the entire way. Now, as we can see, once we get to the store level, everything is in red. That would be where the cost would actually have to be ruled to the store, because everyone else in that process, pretty much kept to the temperature requirements. So that's one of the things, and they would be liable if there's any cost associated with them losing or having to throw that meat or milk away. So that is one of the great ways that you can see just how a supply chain would be able to work with a blockchain, because we're able to capture all of this information in so many different places. And as I mentioned before, the transparency. We could be able to trace exactly where the breakdown was, and then hold that partner liable for it, because at the store could say, well, I received it this way, right? And it's going to be a lot of finger pointing, whether it's the truck or the warehouse or whomever, that's going to, so the store won't have to, assume those costs. So with the transparency that the blockchain provides, you're going to be able to implement and enforce, these structures to say, this person is technically reliable for the breakdown in the supply chain. So as we come to this slide here, this is kind of like the blockchain evolution, right? And blockchain 1.0, simple ledger. Think of Bitcoin at this lower level. That is, Bitcoin is obviously the granddaddy of them all, pretty much where blockchain started. So we started to go with that, which is, it was completely a peer-to-peer system, recording transactions from one ledger to another. That's it. After that, we started to graduate to blockchain 2.0, which is actually, infusing these smart contracts or this logic tier. So now, that can be equated to a lot of things that they're doing on the Ethereum network. So that's kind of where we're using a lot of different things. And if you hear a lot of different companies that's using smart contracts, that's probably what they're using. And then where we're going, right? This is the Microsoft side of it. Being able to infuse what blockchain allows us to accomplish on top of everything that we're doing currently in the cloud, right? So Microsoft gives that ability to mesh everything together. So do we need to repeal and replace our cloud? No. The answer is no. Now, honestly, in the SharePoint world, the answer is usually it depends. But in this case, you do not necessarily need to repeal and replace the cloud because of what Azure blockchain allows us to do, right? So we have Azure Blockchain Workbench, right? This is one of the fastest ways to get started with the blockchain, right? So there is, Azure services that we're currently using. There's distributed ledger supported within Azure currently. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. So you don't necessarily need to, break everything down and just try to figure out what's going to work. Am I going to be using Ethereum or Quorum or whatever? You have a lot of that support already built into Azure. You're going to be able to create private and consortium networks. This is the great part, right? All you really need to do is focus on the smart contract part, the business logic, writing those logic apps, writing the flows that's actually going to, be your nuts and bolts of the blockchain part, and let Azure do the rest, right? So you have AAD, or Azure Active Directory. That's going to be able to work with two-factor authentication, whether it's going to be on your apps or your dApps. You're going to be able to use that. The Azure Key Vault is where you would store the credentials. You'll be able to integrate IoT using REST API or messaging API, and then you can synchronize a lot of this on-chain data with off-chain storage. And I'll talk about a little bit about that as we go to the next couple of slides. And then the consensus mechanism of proof of authority. So one of the things in blockchain that you'll start to hear a little bit about, or trying to understand, is going to be the consensus mechanism. And you may hear of proof of work, or proof of stake, or proof of authority. Proof of authority, easily, I can just say it's like role-based. So if you know anything about security, role-based access or something like that, it's kind of synonymous with proof of authority. So, do you have the rights to do this, right? So that just kind of gives you an idea about that. All right, so as I mentioned, Azure Blockchain Workbench, already connects with a lot of the things that we're already using, whether it's Office 365, LinkedIn, SAP, Salesforce, all of those different things, right? Client apps and devices that we're currently using. You're going to be able to, maintain the, your identity and key management, whether you're doing two-factor, three-party services, all of those things are going to be at that level. And then, as I mentioned, you have the enterprise ledgers, which is already a part of Azure services as already. So whether it's going to be on Ethereum or Hyperledger, or a Quorum ledger. All right, so this is, it may look Greek to some of you, so I'll go through, to try to simplify it a little bit. So starting from left to right, this is going to be whether we are using some type of web app, or a mobile app, or any of that. We're going to be able to use Azure Active Directory for authentication purposes. That's going to allow this person to get into our system, or get onto the chain, so to speak, of what we want them to be able to do, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, whether in that one supply chain, we also have the IoT devices on this end. So not necessarily something that we would require input from someone else, but the IoT devices would be able to, add that information to it, right? And as we're going across, from left to right, everything is going to be consumed by Azure, right? So like I said, Azure is going to do all the work for us for the most part. You're going to have that, as I mentioned, some of that off-chain storage, right? You're going to be able to use some of these things for Azure SQL database, or Azure blob storage. Some of those things are going to be at your disposal because it's all in this ecosystem. Because some of the things that you're going to, let's face it, some of the things that you're going to be capturing, just say you're capturing a lot of this information on the web app, or a mobile app, anything that you're currently using. You're not going to stick all of that stuff on the blockchain, right? You're going to, it's going to be like metadata. It's going to be certain things that you need to make sure that this smart contract is doing its job, or you're capturing the things that you need to capture to initiate or help that smart contract self-enforce and self-execute. So I don't necessarily need phone number or something like that. Some of that information that you may be capturing at the initial state, you don't necessarily need that on a blockchain. And as like I said, as we go towards the right, you'll be able to see that you're going to have that Azure blockchain service, and or whether you're going to start going directly to Ethereum as your ledger. This allows us to think of blockchain in a different route, right? Some of the things that I talk to a lot of people in our environment, and in our community, and a lot of people who don't realize that blockchain, what blockchain can really do. Sometimes we're like stuck in our own little rut, and we only thinking about what we're currently working on, whether we're working on M365, whether we're working on Power Platform. But blockchain it allows an extension of that. We're able to use all of the features in Azure. You have Azure Blockchain Service, you have Azure Blockchain Workbench, and you're going to be able to couple that, whether you're using Dynamics 365, whether you're using SharePoint, whether you are looking toward the opposite end. Once everything starts going and working its way through Azure, that you want to be able to capture some of that information. Maybe you want to show it in some type of display within Power BI. Maybe you want to capture everything that's been going on into a Power App. You're pulling that data from somewhere, and it's just showing up in a Power App. So you're able to look at it, in real time, and instead of necessarily having to look up information or anything like that. So you're going to have everything on the right consuming data from a lot of things that we input from the left, whether so that's Xamarin and Microsoft Dynamics 365. So, and I may not have mentioned it, but for the people who do not use Dynamics 365 right now, that is huge, whether you're using customer service or field service or something like that, to be that first initial piece of your supply chain, right? So as hopefully you can start, the wheels can start clicking to see, all right, you're using Dynamics for supply chain, you're using Azure Blockchain Workbench to be able to capture some of that information, and make sure that whether you're working with some of your current clients, you're bringing in new clients, you're doing a lot of different things within Dynamics. Now you have that blockchain environment as well. So like I said, it just gives you an idea that some of the things that we're currently using, we can actually extend with blockchain. And my next slide kind of shows that too. All right, so, and this is blockchain as a service. So, as you look at the read and route on the right side of the paper, on the right side of the slide, you're going to see all of that information that we consumed, whether it was coming in off an app, whether it was coming in off an IoT device, and working its way through the blockchain service. We're able to consume that data, put everything that we need to put on chain. Everything else can go off chain storage, and we can still consume that data, whether it's going to be in a Power App or a Power BI dashboard. So I always like to include this slide because it gives you an idea, a little bit more idea of what the blockchain stack looks like. If for the people who are techies and been in the tech world for a long time, this kind of looks like the OSI model. For everyone else, then it just shows you the different layers of blockchain, from everything that's going to be the dApp, be that initial application layer, going through, the consensus, all the way down through the network layer, and then the infrastructure layer, which is going to be, the networks and nodes and things of that sort. As I mentioned, a lot of these things are already in Azure. So you're going to be able to go to Azure Marketplace if you have an Azure environment already. If you do not, I suggest going to azure.microsoft.com, getting you a free area to just play around with. And you can go in there. I believe it's a 30-day free trial. You can go in there and check all of these things out. As I mentioned, you're going to have a lot of these different things to try out, whether it's going to be Ethereum, Syscoin, Hyperledger, any of those type of things there. So like I said, I implore you to go check those things out. So a small recap of what we talked about. We defined a blockchain, smart contracts, dApps, kind of told you what it is and what it's not, gave you an idea of, to get past an idea of, we're only on this cloud mentality, but it is something that, we can still incorporate into a solution if it's necessary to do so. There are many companies that have already started implementing blockchain solutions. You're going to see a lot more governments starting to build things with the blockchain. If they have not already started, stay tuned for 2021 and beyond for a lot of the things that they're going to start bringing on. You're going to see a lot of banks, creating their own blockchain solutions as well. Like I said, there's a lot of different things that's going on behind the scenes, even though a lot of people are not talking about it. Blockchain is not an all or nothing solution. Like I said, we can incorporate, we can extend some of the things that we're doing currently. So like I said, it's not just, hey, we're happy with M365, we're happy with SharePoint, and that's it. It's you have the, if it's a necessity in your environment, blockchain can help, automate and ensure everything is running smoothly and allows transparency, especially if you're working with unknown contributors. And as I mentioned, it can integrate with current systems that we are currently using. I've added some resources here. I'll go pretty slow in case you're screen capping this. I'll also probably put these slides up on my website, which will also be on SlideShare. So azure.microsoft.com, I mentioned that's a good place to go and get that free environment for 30 days or so. Azure Blockchain Service, like I said, if you're going to be using that BaaS service, Azure Blockchain Workbench, which is going to help you get started pretty quickly. Because you already have a solution already. Azure Blockchain Workbench is going to allow you to kind of like piecemeal a blockchain into your current environment, so you don't have to necessarily start from block zero, right? Blockchain console is some of the use cases that I mentioned earlier, and you can go to github.com/Azure samples to also go and just start playing around with learning how the blockchain works. And this is just my contact information. If you want to contact me, Fred F. Brandon at brandnewtechnologies.com. My website is fredbrandon.info. My blog is thecryptblock.com, and you can find me on social media everywhere at IMF Brandon. So if anyone has any questions, I can try to answer those now. I'm going to try to switch over here.
Quick question. this may be uh, a little bit off the wall, but let's say for a practical example or scenario, let's take the healthcare.gov project, because sometimes with blockchain, especially those who are new, they don't understand how it can be applied. Although you provided several different examples and supply chains and many different things that would be helpful for healthcare.gov, which for let's say many industry insiders may have said that project could have been done differently. What are some ways from a creative thinking standpoint that blockchain could have been used at a high level to improve the project?
So I think well, number one is onboarding, right? Being able to have that initial onboarding to get people onto the platform. From its inception, I want to say when everything was when they start trying to put out a Affordable Healthcare Act, that site was going down every 5 minutes, right? Just an overload and everything else, right? So now, as your blockchain, being able to factor in all the people that's coming in, you're going to be able to have that storage hashed, right? So now no one's going to be able to slip through the cracks. It's going to be able, you're going to know who has healthcare, who doesn't. You're going to be able to know when someone has a claims. You're going to be able to understand when and I've had so many ideas about healthcare within the blockchain system. I would implement the medicine portion of it, doctors, all of those things would be incorporated inside the system, right? So not only would I have my medical records and that stuff would be on the blockchain, then it would also be able to, you would be able to pass that information on directly to the pharmaceutical provider, whether it is going to be CVS or whomever that is going to fulfill those prescriptions. So there's a lot of different things that you can implement within that entire process. Everything from the onboarding part to keeping of the medical records, to pushing that information to other healthcare providers, as well as the pharmaceutical side where they are getting their prescriptions through.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, will this be available on recording?
Yes, it's being streamed now to Periscope, YouTube, 2 Facebook profiles. So yes.
Awesome. This is a great presentation. Did IBM invent blockchain?
You said, did IBM create it?
Yeah, create it.
I won't say IBM created it. So technically, the idea behind it, which was the Satoshi Nakamoto / Bitcoin side of it, that was pretty much the inception of a blockchain. Now, anything after that, everyone else could say that they had a little stake in it, or they manipulate it because it's open source, right? So after the initial person or team creates it, then everyone else can go with it.
Okay, that's cool. The reason I asked is when I did I had a contract with IBM a few years ago, and they mentioned it a lot on their website. It made me wonder if they had created it.
No. So Satoshi Nakamoto pretty much put this out about technically 2009 is when the Bitcoin white paper came out. So roughly 2008 November-ish is when he started doing a lot of different things, and then the white paper came out. So this technology has been around for roughly about 12 years now, 11 years and some change. So it's and that's why you hear a lot of this this Bitcoin news right now, because it's going at an all-time high. So that the idea of a blockchain has been around for a while, but the way we are starting to use it, that is ever evolving right now.
Cool, thanks. Very nice, good presentation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Any questions, please unmute yourself. Okay. Please, if you have the graphic, please bring the book on the screen or the product page, either or.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. All right. So yeah, there we go. Like I said, it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's also there's anywhere this books are sold. Just go and check it out there. You'll probably find it, but I know definitely it is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Yes, as a community, Baltimore SharePoint community, want to make sure we're supporting our authors. A couple months ago, we had Nate Chamberlain on the hot seat, and he released his book. And today we have Adopting Blockchain and Cryptocurrency. I can tell you that is very important to make sure we support our authors. Baltimore SharePoint, as it exists, is an incubator of sorts where people can come in and learn the skills to become speakers. And we want to continue that evolution by supporting our authors as well. The pre-release price is $4.99, and that is $4.99 US for those of you who are tuning in overseas on the live stream. And so take your latte investment for the day and head over to Amazon and look up Adopting Blockchain and Cryptocurrency. Then make a purchase, support our authors, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Shadid. I appreciate inviting me here. Invite me back to BSpug, as it's been a while, but I appreciate the opportunity of being here and being able to speak to everyone about blockchain and hopefully give them a better idea of what it is, how it can be used, how we can start thinking about it, especially the way we're currently doing things right now, and say, okay, not just shove it off to the side and say, hey, we have our cloud solution and that's all we need, but at the same time to open their minds a little bit to say, oh, okay, well, maybe there's another solution that we can actually put in place or bring into our environment to make things a lot easier or a lot more streamlined.
Excellent. Okay, there's no further questions, comments, concern. Again, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, do a simple search, adopting blockchain and cryptocurrency. The title will come up for you to take the next step. Currently available for $4.99. Those of you who are tuning in on the stream, and support Fred Brandon's mission to spread the blockchain across the globe. And this is the golden era of investing. And those who take action now, not only from a investing standpoint, but from a thought leadership standpoint, are going to be written down in the annals of time. So I'm just thankful that within our tech community, we have not only, there's only a few blockchain speakers in the Microsoft space, but to step forward and write a book about it at this time is a major step. And so to open all sorts of doors, and we're on the ground floor of that wave of that opportunity. So that's what we have to keep in mind. So on behalf of Fred Brandon and the Baltimore SharePoint user group community, Bug Nation to be specific, want to wish you a happy holidays and thank you for your continued support and attendance. And we'll see you in the new year. Stay tuned for a new topic. Thank you for those who are tuning in on the various live stream platforms. And if you're interested in submitting a topic for 2021, as we finalize the list, please contact me directly at Baltimore Spug. That is, Spug is spelled SPUG at live.com. Thank you very much. Over and out. Have a good evening.